Hey there guys, welcome to Dirt Road Believer. It is Tuesday, June the 8th, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today. My name is Tina, and we've got some important stuff to get to, like drawing for your t-shirt. So we're going to get to that in just a sec. Hey, I've got some good news and some bad news. And usually when someone asks me, what do you want first, the good news or the bad news, I usually say the bad news first. So I'm going to start with that. If you remember Big Chungus from our bunny video, Big Chungus has gone on to glory. I am sad to say everything seemed to be doing great. He was thriving, he was jumping and all that good stuff. And then we went to church one Sunday and came home and things were not looking good. He was shaking, but anyway, I had to update you on that. That was sad. Apparently, wild rabbits, they're very fragile and their systems can get thrown off in a heartbeat. So his did. All right, secondly, the good news. The good news is Thursday, I'm having a special guest on for the personality of Jesus, and I can't wait to have this guest on. So make sure you come back on Thursday for that devotion. Okay, I guess it's time. Here we go. I have no one here to draw with me today or for me, so I'm going to be drawing. So you guys get to watch the... Okay, I'm going to shake them up again in there. This is for the t-shirt that I am wearing. The brand new Dirt Road Believer logo on the white t-shirt. So let's open it up and see who wins. This is hard to do one-handed, by the way. Come on. Come on. Cody Brown, you want a t-shirt, so I have your size for you, and I will get with you on Messenger and get it to you in the mail. So thank you everyone who entered to win. You remember every Tuesday is what? T-shirt Tuesday. So even if you have already entered to win, doesn't matter, we're starting all over. So enter to win again this week. All you have to do is comment your t-shirt size to either YouTube or Facebook, and you will be entered into the drawing. One more thing, new subscribers, don't forget when you subscribe, enter your subscriber number, the name of your church, and you will be entered to win $500 when we get to 500 subs on Dirt Road Believer. So guys, there's no limit on this. New subscribers, you can also comment your t-shirt size too, and you'll be entered to win. We do the drawing every Tuesday. So guys, if you're like me and my family, every day there's something crazy going on. There are always people coming and going, and Mama, can we do this? And have these friends. I mean, it's non-stop. You probably feel the same way. And so if your summer is already off to a crazy start, this next 5 minutes of your day is going to be the most peaceful, the most solitude you will have in your day, I promise. So you can join me for 5 minutes of peaceful solitude and then join me for the devotion. Or if you're good and you don't need any solitude, just take that little line and right on over. It'll take you through to the devotion. Okay guys, I will see you back for the devotion. Goodbye. I ended that little video of solitude with a mountaintop because Jesus loved being on mountaintops. He frequently retreated to there. And so today we're going to be talking about a big contrast in Jesus. So thanks for joining me for today's devotion, and let's get started. Today we are talking more about the personality of Jesus. And Jesus was super famous, if you didn't know already. God is like the most famous household name there is, and so naturally his son is very famous. He's a famous name now, but when he was alive he was also very, very famous, and especially for the last 3 years of his life during his ministry. He was everywhere he went. Like, he couldn't go anywhere without being recognized, without having demands placed upon him, people wanting to press in on him and see him. And although being famous is not a personality trait, I know this is the personality of Jesus. So fame can reveal something about your personality for sure in the way that you handle it. So we're going to be looking today at how Jesus handled his fame. And just to give you an idea of just how famous Jesus was on earth, I just want to read some snippets of scripture to you. This is going to give you a good idea of, it was like a famous person today trying to go somewhere and the paparazzi just, only he had something much more valuable to give than a picture. So Jesus was, in one part that impressed me the most, it said, the crowd spotted him and rushed him, and it overwhelmed him. The crowds almost crushed Jesus. A crowd of many thousands were trampling each other over Jesus. A great crowd followed him. Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him. John said, "See, this is getting us nowhere. Look, the whole world has gone after him." Once the crowd realized Jesus wasn't there, what did they do? They got in their boats and they searched for him. Meanwhile, a large crowd found out that Jesus was there and came. So wherever Jesus went, there were people. There were crowds, huge, thousands and thousands of people in crowds. So I can almost bet that many times this, I hate to call it an entourage because that's such a word from today, that anytime you see a famous person, you see their entourage. But Jesus did have people that went everywhere with him. The disciples, he had women who helped take care of things and saw about the business of daily life for him and his disciples. But I can almost bet that the disciples were somewhat like bodyguards at times, like just trying to keep people off of him. So this was a lot to deal with for any person. This is a lot to deal with, and it was no different for Jesus because he was human. And so, this on a daily basis could get to be just way too much. And it reveals a lot about his personality and just who he was as a person in the way that he dealt with this fame. So we're going to look at two things, two parts of Jesus' personality that go along with this famous side of him. So number one, Jesus remained completely humble the whole time. He never let this go to his head that all these people wanted to be near him. He was always mindful that his fame was due to what he had to offer people, and in and of himself there was nothing that this human had to offer. It was all because that he was there to, share what his Father in heaven had told him to share. He also had compassion on the crowds. That's not really something you see with famous people today. They're not, going up and holding people's hands and being attentive to their needs. They're just trying to get past the crowd to get to whatever it is. But the crowd needed something from him, and he knew that. Anyone in the crowd who would have pressed in close enough to see Jesus, they would have seen Jesus giving individual attention to people, listening to what they had to say. They would have seen him being very patient with people, and someone who spent time to talk to individuals and to heal them, to bless them, to find out what it was they needed. If it was food that someone needed or a crowd needed, Jesus provided that. And so um, they found someone who was being crowded around that didn't turn them away and didn't get annoyed by the crowds. There were times that the apostles were like, let's just get rid of this crowd, and Jesus was like, no, they need something from me. And so he was very patient with crowds. And secondly, and perhaps the thing that I get the most insight from Jesus is, he had to deal with these crowds daily. It was just a part of his life. And he knew that to be able to give of himself to these people, he had to find balance somewhere. And so this is where we find a man who enjoyed solitude. He relished time alone and retreating from the constant demands of the crowds and the stimulation that gives to the mind and the body. He knew that it was necessary to retreat and to get away from the crowds. A person cannot spend every moment they are awake just being surrounded and people needing stuff from them. Moms, you may feel like this, that every waking moment, if you have small children, that you are surrounded and you can't get away. And it's important for moms too to find that time to retreat. But he retreated from the constant crowds, the stimulation, and this shows a very human side of Jesus. He knew, I've got to have rest, I've got to have balance, I've got to have solitude in order to recharge. And so I've just picked out some scripture. And by the way, Mark is like the best book to read. If you want to really get a grasp on how famous Jesus was and how he balanced this with solitude, Mark is a great book. So I'm just going to read a few places in scripture that really show us how this solitude was his balance. So in Mark 1, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. So this shows us he went off by himself and he used that time to pray. And then also in verse 1, instead he went out and began to talk freely, spreading the news. As a result, Jesus could no longer enter a town openly, but stayed outside in lonely places. So he would retreat outside of towns where hopefully he wouldn't be noticed. In chapter 3 of Mark, because of the crowd, he told his disciples to have a small boat ready for him to keep the people from crowding around him. That sounds like famous people today. They have an escape plan. In chapter 6, the apostles gathered around Jesus and reported to them all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going, they didn't even have a chance to eat. Jesus said, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." Jesus left that place and went to the vicinity of Tyre. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know it because he needed to escape. And then they left that place and passed through Galilee. Jesus did not want anyone to know that they were there. He was teaching his disciples. And so, as famous as Jesus was, the moment someone knew that he was in a house or he was on a road or he was entering a town, I mean, they just swarmed him. And so there was some secrecy involved, and I'm sure the apostles helped with these plans to keep him kind of under wraps. But he never turned a crowd away. And when we see this contrast in Jesus from like uber famous to needing time by himself and to retreat for prayer and to teach his disciples, we see that solitude is so important, and it helps us understand the balance that he set as an example for us. It's unreasonable for anyone to expect that they can just go and constantly be surrounded and have demands placed upon them and not balance that out with some rest and some time alone. And so these times of solitude, these times that he was alone with his Father and he prayed for direction, That's so important. So important. So, guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's devotion. I hope you're finding some balance in your life. Make sure you like and share today's video and get subscribed if you're not already. Set those notifications so you can know when a video posts. Hey, I can't wait to see you on Thursday when we're going to have a special guest on to talk more about the personality of Jesus. And until then, slow down. Take the dirt road, believer.